I know. I had Alex Strost on. I don't know if you follow Alex, but he does
Yeah.
streams, and he's one of my favorite to watch. And he was on my stream, and he said he was like, it was hard for him not to act as if he was the host. So he was like calling out people in the chat and like, oh, we got a comment from so and so. And I'm like, that's totally fine. But it is
Yeah.
interesting, like for people that do it on a regular basis to then be a guest and realize like it's only slightly different. Like I mean, we should all just continue to do the stuff that we're like used to doing. But he was like, he called himself out a few times about it, which is funny.
It's like, this is my stream. I'm sorry, I'm
I
taking
know.
over. But in this
um,
way, like I prepped to like interview you. So in a way, I feel like it's my stream.
yeah, well, that's fair. We could have done it on yours too.
Oh,
Um,
it's fine. Like
either way, yeah.
more people will like I have what 300 and something subscribers. So if I just go YOLO stream, there usually won't be anyone showing up.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a hard one to kind of get the crowds in.
Yep.
Not that, yeah, but
Yeah.
I just looked at your numbers, so I didn't realize they were that high.
Subscriber wise,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, that's been last year was the big year for me. I actually did I have a video that I can send you that probably talks about a lot of this stuff. It's the
Oh,
recording
okay.
from my talk at All
Should
Things
probably have
Open.
done some more research. I was just like,
Yeah.
I want to talk to you and like ask you the nitty gritty details.
Yeah.
But yes,
Well,
yeah.
that video just got released, like
Oh,
on
okay.
YouTube. So I'll send you the link to that later. But one
Yeah.
of the things I showed was like screenshots of my dashboard, YouTube dashboard from 2017 through 2022 through this year. And it was like nothing, a little bit or a tiny bit, some more, a lot. Like what last year was a huge year for me. And it was like I showed my first video that got over 1 million views was like drove a ton of the growth of my channel last year. And then I also did a guest video on Privacy Media channel. I did two of them and
Mhm.
then one on Free Code Camp. And so that brought in a lot of subscribers and visibility and stuff too. So that those three or four and then like one or two other videos that did well was like that made my channel last year. It's kind of wild. Like once you get one of those things that takes off, how much growth it can lead to.
Yeah, I've seen that a little bit with other YouTubers that I follow,
Hmm.
not necessarily in the tech space, where they're like, this one video
Yep.
is what's bringing in like almost all subscribers, and it's often not the video they thought it would be.
Yeah.
Like it's like a like not a random,
Yep.
like you keep working, you keep putting,
Hmm.
yourself out there, but like it's not the one that they kind of planned to be the
Right.
one that was going to give them a lot of views.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
can't guarantee anything. But that's definitely my mentality is continuing to create content consistently, and each one of those has a chance to go viral or be super
Yeah.
popular or whatever. So
Yeah, but you have to, because I've been fairly consistent with writing emails or blog posts or whatever you want to call them, but I call them emails because I'm like speaking to my email list.
mm,
Makes it more personal or easier, at
mhm.
least for me to just write something, and it does add up. Like I've done it for almost a year now, and I've been seeing, not that, but like I've seen some. Like I've wrote this really fast email about semantic React and how you can make sure that you're using semantic HTML or tags
Mhm.
while still kind of reusing the design. And it was just one of those where I was like, oh, people might not know this. And I like wrote
Mhm.
it. It was one of my fastest emails. And then I put it on Reddit, on React subreddit. And I thought like people would be like hating on me because I heard so many bad things about React.
Mhm.
Like nothing like that. And then it got picked up and it got like 5,000 views last, like, and it's like my site has like, you know, it's like nothing. And
Yeah,
then
you never.
this one email is
Yeah.
like, it's basically all my traffic is this one email that got picked up in all the newsletters from the React subreddit. So I've just been scared of React, or I mean, for the Reddit for no reason, I guess. But yeah,
I've
do we
never
want to?
I've never actually used Reddit. But yeah, you never know which content, and that's why I just like continue to share. But yeah,
Yeah.
if you have questions, if you're there in the chat, Focus Otter, hello, hello. If people have
Hey.
questions about content creation, that's what we're talking about for about 30 minutes. So if you have questions,
Mhm.
feel free to throw them in the chat, and we'll cover those as well. Um,
Yeah, and I guess maybe I
but
should
yeah,
introduce myself
yeah,
since
I
we've
forget
now
about that
met.
part.
We
Yeah,
kind
I
of
know.
forgot we've met because we met.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm Queen Raae. I help you navigate the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands. So my website is right there in the here, Queen Raae codes. So if you want to learn more about Gatsby, which is my focus at the moment, you can sign up for my almost daily email.
Daily.
And then also,
That's a lot of work.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, lately it's been like 3 days a week.
Yeah. I have trouble
But
keeping up with one email a week, so
yeah, no,
multiple
but
is
I
nice.
think for me though, it's been easier than once a week.
Hmm.
Because it's like a little bit what you say when you do once a week or like once a month is even worse because they're like, oh, this has to be like a really good article. It's got to
Mm.
cover all the bases. Probably the same with you with videos, but you know, when you're doing them that seldom, I don't know
Seldom.
that word.
Yep. Yep.
Yes. Then it's like has to be really good. But when you like just do it every day, then I mean,
Just
it
like a
should be
little
good.
piece of, yeah.
Yeah, but it
But
can be like a
smaller
tiny,
quantities. Yeah.
yeah, and it can just be like a tiny piece of the puzzle. It doesn't have to be like, and this is an introduction to Gatsby, you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
before you can get into anything. So yeah.
That makes sense.
But what I asked to talk to you about today actually is more about like how the kind of business and money and number side of things look like. Because I've seen a lot of the big YouTubers, and it looks really fun. But I'm always like, you know, like is it making enough money? That's like the kind of, I guess, the question here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my first question, if we're just going to get right into it, and then if anybody else has questions, like feel free to help me with questions. But what are some of the ways, or what are all the ways you're making money as a full-time content creator right now?
Yeah, that's a fun question, and one of the things I mentioned right before we went live is there's like lots of different things I could do. So the most standard thing I do is product video. So a company reaches out, they say I want you to do a video on our product. Usually that's somewhere between 15 minutes to an hour long video, depending on what type it is. So I get paid for that. That's the majority of the stuff that I do. That's the majority of the money I make. Right now, those are priced at $10,000 a piece for what it's worth. I've also got a one pager that I'm sending out to people with the different services that I offer, so
Mhm.
I could actually send that out as well. Or
That
if
would be super
people
interesting.
want, um,
So
actually, let me do
follow-up
this.
question to that though,
Yeah.
10,000 for a video. Do you
Hmm.
feel like they're paying kind of per subscriber or per potential? Because then they're paying the same no matter how many views your video gets, right?
Yep. Yeah. So let me share. I've got the document up, and I'll share it for other people. So I'm just now like sending this out to people. So let
Mm.
me walk through
Yeah,
the different
yes.
ones, and then I'll come back to your question.
Cool. Yeah.
So hands-on tutorial, 10,000. Shout out, like the minute ad read or something at the beginning is two.
Mhm.
A rap video. Someone reached out to me, a popular company, about doing a rap video, and they like stopped messaging me. So one day I want to do that. Um, Shares on Twitter, live streams are something that I want to do more of because the benefit of this is like I can build with their product on a live stream, get real time feedback and engagement, but then also have that live long term on my YouTube channel.
Mhm.
And I think that's a lot of fun because it's less like upfront prep work because I get to kind of learn and build on stream. And that's like the biggest thing right now is just I don't have enough time to do all the things that I would like to, which is tough
Mhm.
because it's hard for me to say no. Newsletter shout out and TikTok video, which I haven't done a TikTok video. I've done one newsletter shout out. So the majority of stuff is in the hands-on tutorial.
Mhm.
And so from like what they pay perspective, the you can never guarantee views. I've done one deal where I had a contingency of like 5,000 now, and if the video gets to 50,000 views, get an extra 5,000. And I thought that video would do really well, and I thought it would get to 50,000, and it didn't. So it's sitting at like 18,000. So I
Mm.
just missed out. But I think like sometimes I think that's fair. Like depending on the content creator that you talk to, they will tell you you can never guarantee views. But I also think I've been in situations where I've charged a lot of money and I've been disappointed in the number of views that I've gotten for the sponsor. And
Mhm.
you just can never quite like you just can't guarantee it. So sometimes I've lowered the price based on a conversation if they have hesitancy, or I've done one time where I've had like the threshold of like get to this amount and then we'll pay you the rest of the 10 or something. Most people won't do that. That was just a specific scenario where I felt good about it and I was willing to do it. Didn't work out for me that time, but it is what it is. So,
Yeah, you took that bet
mhm.
or the
Yep.
risk. Okay, so there is no n but do they ask questions before they buy the video? Do they, like, ask you about ho like, do they want to see that you've managed to create results for another company before? Like, do you
Yeah.
have any pitch where it's like, well, this company saw an increase in signups or
Mhm.
trials, or are they kind of interested in you demonstrating that that will happen? Or do they just look at your kind of subscriber count and they're like, yeah, we want to reach all these people?
Yeah, that honestly, most of the conversations are fairly easy where it's just subscriber count. I do
Mm.
have questions about like what does your audience look like? And unfortunately, it's the typical male audience from 18 to 30 years old. Like it's just if you look at any tech YouTube, those are the numbers
Oh,
that
I have
are like,
50% women
do you really? That's great.
viewers,
I
but
actually
like I have no viewers compared to you. I have viewers, but
yeah,
not compared to you. But yeah,
but that's great though. I would love
yeah.
anyway, like I
Yeah.
feel like I'm in the stereotypical ratio and I would love for that to be different. But
Mhm,
anyway, so like there's those kind of numbers. I don't have good numbers on like click through rate or conversions. Most people don't even give me trackable links. Sometimes I
mhm.
ask if they want them. And so I have had a few
That's interesting
trackable
though. Like
links.
I would imagine
Expect them to want more
I
or
would
like,
expect them to like want like some way
yep.
to figure out if it like, because one thing is views, because that's like, well, now I'm kind of
Hmm.
jumping around, but like it's a little bit of a follow up because I would imagine most of your viewers are beginning to mid. Like, I don't know if you've questioned them, but a lot of kind of like the tutorial type content I would imagine is more geared towards people in the beginning of their career.
Hmm.
And in a way, I'm thinking like they don't really have the purchasing power within the company,
Yep.
but like they might have in like 5 to 10 years. So I don't know if these companies are like playing the long game. Have you heard anything about the reasoning or like
Yeah.
why they choose to go with you?
Yep. Yeah, I think again, like there's at the end of the day, there's only so many big brands. So
Mhm,
like I think there's just a lot of power that I personally have from that perspective
mhm,
and causes a lot of interest from their perspective. A lot of times companies are looking for overall exposure. So they just want to get their stuff in front of as many people as possible. So the easy thing to track is views. I did a video for Zeta a few weeks ago, and it's done really well. It's at like 70,000 views, which is one of my biggest sponsor ones in a while. One of two biggest sponsor videos that I've done. And that one in particular, they could see a bump in their signups without a trackable link, but just based on the day that I released the video. So and the week that I
mhm,
released the video. So some people are tracking some of that, but most of them are just looking for like overall exposure. And the easiest thing that comes down to is number of views on the video. Some have trackable links. One of the things I encourage companies to do is have like a swag giveaway or something, so that first X number of people that follow their starter can get a shirt or something. That way, it's like
mm,
it's a deeper engagement from people who watch the video because they're actually going and doing something hands on, and then they also get to win something, and then it becomes a swag item for them. Really quickly, just want to address from Focus Otter, how do you find ideas and keywords that would get the most views? Just paying attention to what's on YouTube is huge. I pay for TubeBuddy on a monthly basis for tools around keywords and other stuff that I use. And then Safewo, how would you recommend overcoming the fear of recreating content that's out there? I recreate content that's already out there every day and every week. Like there's
everyone does,
everyone does, and you just
because you
have
don't
to
even
not
know
think
what's
about that.
out there.
Yeah.
And also there's so much like you might be reading something and you're like, "Wow, I never read this before," but I
Mhm.
promise you if you like did a thorough Google search, somebody did
As
something
yep,
about that before.
yep.
And also just like loving people's style. Like people have
Mhm.
different styles of
Exactly.
explaining things. And then so yeah, the one I was mentioning, the semantic HTML, I
Mhm.
can't remember where I learned it, but then I just kind of wrote it up and shared it on Reddit. Maybe the person, or I think I've learned it from looking at UI libraries. Anyway, but somebody has probably written about that before, but then
Yep.
suddenly like 5,000 views on that thing, which I
Yep.
felt was like one of my easiest things
Mhm.
to produce because I knew it so well.
Yep.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
jumped in there,
that's
but
no, you're
yeah,
good. That's exactly what I was gonna say. So
yeah.
I'll let that kind of be the answer. The other thing I'll add is like your the depth of a piece of content is not necessarily a reflection of how well it does in a good and bad way. Because sometimes you spend a lot of time working on a tutorial and it doesn't do well, and that's kind of disappointing. But also sometimes you just do a short video or article or email or something for on something that you learned recently that you think will be helpful for people, and it really is helpful for a lot of people. So there's no guarantee any number of views or visibility based on anything really.
Yeah, and I just from personal experience, I've noticed like at different times in my life, I've been able to consume different types of content.
Mhm.
So for like some reason, like I've always been an avid reader, but for a while, like I just couldn't like read longer technical things. And that's when I started watching videos. Well, I'd never watched videos for this type of learning before. And now I'm
Mhm.
kind of back a little bit where it's faster for me to read. But for some reason, there was like this time where I don't know, mental overload, I don't know what it was, but like videos was the way I could consume
Mhm.
things at that point. And that helped me,
Yep.
stay on top of things without being which I didn't think was my preferred version
Yep.
of learning. Anyway, that was getting very personal. Back to my hard hitting journalistic questions. So how has the price evolved? Do you feel like do you feel like there's a industry standard price per subscriber, or have you kind of is this just something that you decided on, and like at what number of subscriber tied to like what you've charged for a video?
Yeah, the subscribers has a huge subscribers is where the bargaining power where the power comes from.
Hmm.
But really it's a supply and demand thing cuz like right now I'm in a very fortunate position to have way more requests for sponsored content that I could possibly do. And I hate again having to turn down stuff. And so one of the pieces of advice that we have in this Discord that I'm in is like you should be raising your rates until X percentage of people say no, because you could either do like you could do 5 videos at 5,000 a piece, or let's get an easier number. You could do 10 videos at 5,000 a piece, or you could do 5,000, excuse me,
Our maths are
10
not on point
videos at
today.
5,000 a piece, or you could do 5 videos at 10,000 a piece. So you're doing half the work in theory and you're getting the same amount of money. And as stressful as it is having too much content, one of the ways that you can do that is by raising your rates. And so I've raised my rates aggressively the last year.
Mhm.
$10,000 still feels very high to me, to be honest. And it's higher than some other creators that have many more subscribers than what I have. But the thing that I can stand by is like one, I can negotiate and they can negotiate. So there's like wiggle room there. But also like it has to be worth my time, which again, the fortunate thing is for me, my time because of supply and demand has gotten that much more expensive. So I think
Mhm.
supply and demand and based on feedback from previous sponsors and engagements is the biggest thing to that I factor in.
So how many subscribers did you have the first time you charged money for a video?
Yeah, you kind of mentioned something about that earlier, and I don't know. I think the first video was like 500 or 1,000 or something, and this was probably in like the 20,000 range. And
Mhm.
there's like other people that are starting earlier, which I 100% think they can. And again, the cool thing for people with smaller channels is like you still have the potential for a video to do really well. Like of views on a channel with a larger audience are not as directly proportional to how big their follower subscriber base is as you would think. Like it's much more dependent on the individual video than it is the size of the subscriber base, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've seen that more, and like a lot of with some of the changes on YouTube, I've also realized
Mhm.
like people are using it as a search engine
Mhm.
much more than
I
like
do.
2 years ago.
Yep. I
So
definitely do.
yeah, I'm not that modern. I'm too old. I'm just kidding. But no, but like people go in there, it's like for everything, like how do I change my dishwasher or like fix something on my dishwasher, and they're not gonna go subscribe to the dishwasher guy because
Yeah,
they're
true.
not gonna be fixing their dishwasher
Every
every
day.
day.
Yep.
But when it comes to, coding, like people might want to
Mhm.
subscribe and like stay updated and keep that learning happening. But if you have like I guess yeah, if you have a video that answers a specific question, they might come for just that and then
Yep.
kind of leave you again. Um okay, so that was that. So you had like 20,000, you charge like $500 per video. Now you have 170,000, like 10,000 per video. I'm gonna do some math here and like get get a price per subscriber count.
Yeah. But again, like,
Uh,
and you could totally do it, but I think it's much more just supply and demand. And
yeah.
I think it's reputation, right? Like you would be in the
Mm,
same situation of having provided valuable content over an extended period of time, and developers and companies and products knowing that you're a person that they can trust. Like I get some emails that are just, they're obviously just sending messages to all channels in a
mhm.
category that are above a certain threshold. The majority of my messages though are like actual appreciation for me as a creator, not just the audience size.
Yeah, so they also wanna kinda affiliate with you because they
Hmm.
like your personality and your style
Yep.
and you as a person, I guess, because 'cause we're all in the end,
Just
buying from
people.
people,
Yep.
even in business to business. But
Yep.
so related to the subscriber question though, is like, do you get any payout from AdSense?
Yeah, I do. And I can let me go.
Because I've heard around on YouTube from other creators that they're, that tech the type of ads that come on tech content are of higher value than what would be on, like, lifestyle brand type,
Yeah, I don't
content.
actually, I am not the best at paying attention to those specifics. So like
Mhm,
when we talk about CPM and stuff like that, I honestly have no idea what mine is and how that gets affected. I do know like Code Stacker Jesse, who was at the conference,
mhm,
his CPM or whatever it was when he did content on NFTs was like through the roof. And
mhm.
I won't share the numbers that he told me because that's his thing, but I was like, whoa, that's very high. Anyway, so like, yes, like ad revenue for me is just like supplementary income. I mean, it's part of my overall income as a content creator
Mhm,
now, but the way YouTube dashboard shows this is over the previous 28-day period. So every day you
mm,
see the like sliding scale of 28 days. I'm saying this for other people who may not know.
mhm,
So over the past 28-day period, I will have earned $1,500 in, or 1460 or whatever, in ads. I think the most I've ever been at in a month was like 3 grand, and recently, in the last several months, I've been as low as like 1 grand. So I'm kind of consistently betting on like 1,000 to 1,500 per month,
mhm.
factoring that into like overall revenue that I make. But it's not the like make I make much more money doing sponsored video content than I probably ever will, and most creators ever will with the ad revenue itself.
Yeah. But it's good to know, like, to get
Hmm.
to see, like, an actual example of somebody with a high subscriber count and, like, see what that looks like
Yep.
in numbers. So, because we were talking, you were showing us your one page about the ways you make money. Do you make money do you get paid to speak or any other ways you make money off of kinda your
Mm.
celebrity or techfluencer status?
Paid speaking is something that I'm specifically targeting next year. So
Mhm,
I actually want speaking to be a fairly significant. I really enjoy speaking, and I want it to be a fairly significant portion of income that I make. I've gotten minimal pay like speaking opportunities so far. I've gotten like $500 for a speaking opportunity. But I actually have a speaker agent. It's not as fancy as it sounds like it is, but I have a speaker agent that in theory would kind of pitch me as a speaker to different places. With her, I have a rate of 5,000 to speak. And then if it's in person, the company would pay for business class travel, I think, to get to the conference. So it would be 5,000 plus all travel paid to wherever that conference is. So that's something that I'm going to be paying a lot more attention to next year, redoing a complete speaking page on my profile and advertising myself more as a keynote speaker. I'll actually be giving like my first bigger keynote in January at, it's called that conference in Texas.
I'm
So anyway,
jealous about that one. That's one
yeah.
of it's on my bucket list for, like, I
Oh,
guess,
really?
2024 to,
Yeah.
like, bring my family,
Oh,
because it's
yeah.
like
It's a great family. Yeah.
it's one of the family-friendly
Hmm.
conferences. It's, like, at the theme park or, like, a hotel with
Yep.
a theme park or something like that. So,
Yep.
that's on my it's on my bucket list to, like, get
It's
I
a
would
cool
just
one.
need my travel and
Paid.
accommodation covered
Yep.
to do that one. But so are you thinking that that would be only conferences or, like, in-house stuff? Is your speaker agent said anything about the possibilities of speaking kind of on a company, like, get together or
Yeah. I
Christmas
think,
party? I don't know.
yeah, that's definitely a huge opportunity. Or that's definitely an opportunity that I see as part of what I would do. So all in all, yes. I just don't know exactly what those opportunities will look like, but hopefully that's stuff that she can help source. Um, Moozamil, can you ask
Mhm.
questions about content creations? We've got a few minutes left, so feel free to throw questions in the chat if you have
Yes.
them.
Yeah, I feel like you wrote content creators. I'm only like hitting the money questions, but if people have from the content creation
Yeah.
standpoint as well. Um, so I guess we covered any other ways you're making money off of this like channel?
We have podcast sponsorship, although
Mm-hmm.
that we haven't had money coming in for that in a while just because we fell behind. So that's one of my goals for the beginning of this year is to have sponsorships coming in for the podcast on a regular basis. And
Okay.
courses is the next big thing. So that's going to be a huge focus for me next year is courses.
Are you going to do those on your own platform, or are you going to go and partner with somebody?
I'll do them by myself, but on using the platform Podia is where I'll have my content.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's what you used for the advent calendar last year.
Hmm. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Are you happy with Podia? Side question.
Yeah, I think no platform is perfect. Like it's
Mm.
just you just won't find a perfect platform. So for the things that it can do, I am very happy with it.
Yeah. Cool. So I know that you have a community as well. Like, how crucial do you feel like that has been to the success of the channel?
Have a Discord community.
Yeah.
Not I don't think I think those are pretty separate things. I probably get a lot more people coming to Discord from YouTube videos than I do from people in Discord going to YouTube. So I think they're like pretty different communities and engagements. But for people who do follow me on YouTube, who come to Discord and then get to have a more personal connection with me, this is not why I do it, but they are then going to be people that are more likely to pay attention to content in the future, something like courses, because they've had a deeper connection and more trust in me as an individual to follow the things that I do in the future. Um, Question in the chat really quickly.
Yeah, sure.
Haddish, and I'm moving fast because we only got a few minutes, but Haddish says,
We can
looking to
do this
create a
again.
course. I know. Um, Looking to create a course aimed at dev students, juniors, not a common topic versus technical topics. Like I don't want to sound too repetitive on this, but the advice is always just to get started. Like regardless of what equipment you do or do not have, or like what ideas you do or do not have, just start creating content. Because if you look at the first bunch of videos that I did on my channel, the videos that I do now are totally different. The topic is totally different, and you got to kind of figure that out for yourself. And I think the easiest way that you figure that out is through experience. So just start creating content. If it's shorts, that's probably a great idea. TikTok and YouTube shorts are very popular right now. Just start creating them and pay attention to what does well and just build off that. Brad asked a great question. So Level Up Tutorials is a course platform from Scott Talinsky, who is great. His content is great. He has guest creators on there. So Brad is asking what I think about smaller creators like himself creating a course on Level Up Tutorials. I think I did that. I also did courses on Udemy before moving to Podia. So I think leveraging other platforms before you're confident in driving stuff to your own audience is definitely the way to go. I'm actually yet to generate as much revenue on my own outside of Udemy than I got from Udemy, and I just happened to have a course that did really well. That's one other thing. It still makes like $1,000 a month, which is wild
Mm.
because it's a
What's
couple
it
years
on?
old at this point. VS Code, so it just happened to
Mm.
be like
Mm.
timing was really good. So I still make money off that. But yeah, leveraging other people's platforms is typically a mutually beneficial way in like what is set up for Level Up to Tut. So I think that's a great way to go. Yeah,
And I
Moose asked same question about tips. Just share everything you do. Everything is
yeah.
content. Everything that you learn every day is content that someone else can benefit from.
And I have a little like specific tip on that. And I think in the beginning, if you feel like you don't have anything to share, think that you're writing for your future
Mhm.
self.
Yep.
Because what I've realized is that I end up searching my own site so much. So kind of my specialty is Gatsby, but I still don't remember every freaking
Hmm.
syntax there is. And I'm like, oh, I've wrote about this. And then I go and I like search on my own site and then I copy paste that. So even
Yep.
if nobody else benefits from it, I benefit from it, and then you kind of get that practice, and then Google will start picking things up. And for me, it's at least taken a year before Google starts picking these things up, and I'm seeing now that they're actually picking it up. And I would imagine, as you said, the
Mhm.
same thing with YouTube. It's like you start, but then it takes a while before the algorithms kind of trust in you being consistent. So yeah. Yeah, and Esther says I do that too. I
Mhm.
think I think that was a
Yeah.
reply to me.
Mhm.
But so how much time did you have? Did you have to leave like right now?
I have 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes. Okay, great. So how many tutorials could you, because you so that well, first question. On YouTube, do you feel like you have different genres, or do you have the tutorial genre? Is that the only
I
type of
have
video you make?
Yeah, so the majority of stuff is tutorial. I like to do quicker video. Like one, it's always my priority is consistency, not necessarily bigger tutorials. Like
Mhm.
I would rather do 2 short videos over 2 weeks than skip a week to do 1 longer video.
Mhm.
So I do a lot of tutorials. I do a lot of just small, like here's an extension of VS Code or a new tool that I found out, etc. I do talking head stuff. Like I want to do more career conversation videos. So I've done a handful of those. So those are the typical categories is like regular tutorial. Here's something cool that I found, career
Mhm.
stuff. And also like this is kind of a slippery slope and you have to kind of figure it out for yourself. But people love opinions and you can watch some of the channels that really take off and it's oftentimes it's the really opinionated channels. And so if you can find a way to share your opinions that you think are beneficial for people without being disrespectful and rude, dismissive of people in general, those types of videos tend to do really well. So if you have like opinions on best practices, people are always looking for that type of content.
Yeah. So, but it's the tutorial videos that you're
Do the
charging the
most.
the 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 big money for the most.
Yeah,
And
and
then you had the shout out
shout outs, and then some
uh
of them are like talking head videos too.
to
So
yeah. Okay.
sometimes just from an audience reach perspective, people respond more to, I just found this really cool new thing. We don't necessarily need to use it hands on, but let me tell you about
Yeah.
some of the cool features.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess what I'm getting at, like how many could you make a week?
Sponsored ones?
Yeah. Or a
Uh,
month. How many sponsored ones could you make a month? And not kind of, well, I guess there's different ways to think about this. It's like how many sponsored videos could you do time wise? And how many
yeah,
sponsored videos could you do without kind of diluting your channel, I guess? Or like, how much would be too much sponsored content?
yeah.
So like,
I
or
don't I don't think
or
as
have
much.
you know,
I don't
yeah.
think there's as much of a limit on degradation to my channel because
No.
I think after you've earned respect from people and you create content around sponsors that are also still valuable for them, the fact that it's sponsored doesn't matter as much to a viewer. Like if people do an ad read in a video, I don't know. If you enjoy the tutorial, you're going to go use it regardless of whether or not somebody paid me to create the thing
Yeah.
anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's a limiting factor. I have this month like 4 or 5 sponsored videos that I have to do, and it's a lot, like a lot, a lot. So I'm like, I honestly have made a little bit too much of commitment to
Mhm.
content this month in particular. So this is a rough one. Ideally, my ideal state is having ongoing relationships on a monthly basis with like 2 different sponsors for like
Mhm.
10 grand a month. So if that was 20 grand total plus the other things, like this is more money than I was making at my previous job. So
Mhm.
that sort of stuff really pays off. It also gets easier to do content on an ongoing sponsor because the hardest thing with sponsored content is onboarding to the platform and the team, etc. So that would be my ideal state of doing like one piece of content dedicated to each one, doing a couple shout outs, creating TikToks and tweeting about
Mhm.
that whole process and having that be like 2 monthly package deals that I could count on for several months.
So you're saying kinda like 2 to 3 kind of, like, tutorials or,
Yeah, I think that's
like,
a reasonable
video,
number.
that's,
Yeah.
like, what you can
Mhm,
manage, like, time and energy-wise.
mhm.
Do you
Yep.
feel that the limit is mostly time, or do you feel that the limit is mostly energy? It might be a weird question, but, like, at least I've started noticing that things that can take a little time might still drain me of a lot of energy.
That's a good question. I don't know if I think I have the energy. I think I think
Mhm.
that's not the problem. I think it's more just time and making sure that like my work life balance as a full time content creator, I want to be the best work life balance I've ever had, and I've had really good
Mhm.
work life balance in the past. So yeah, I think it's more time than anything. Another question in the chat from Otter for expenses for my channel. That's a great question. I expense equipment and stuff probably more than I need to at times, but it's fun. I pay for TubeBuddy. I pay for Discord Premium. I pay for storage on Google Drive, which is like a couple bucks a month to like share videos for sponsors to see. Um, I pay for QuickBooks, which is for accounting. I pay for Canva to do some image stuff. There's a few other. There's not a ton, so it's probably like a couple $100 a month in expenses. Podia is probably the biggest thing. It's like $700 a year, 700 or $800 a year.
And
Um,
that's is that where you do a newsletter as well, or do you have a newsletter
Yep. So
charge?
yeah, great
Yeah.
question. So that is, I do my newsletter through Podia. The tooling there is very limited. I don't know why they don't make some basic updates. It's kind of
Mhm.
frustrating, but it's included into the monthly thing that I'm already paying at that tier, and I get unlimited subscribers. Versus if you went with something like Mailchimp or ConvertKit, like that could get into the hundreds of dollars a month pretty quickly, which is
Oh.
tough to do. So anyway,
And here's the $1,000,000 question. How many domains do you own?
domains that I actually use, like not that many, like James Q Quick, Learn, Build,
No,
Teach,
no. How many do you own that you don't
like
use?
10 total probably. Yeah, it's
How can
not.
it
Is
Oh
that
my
lower
god,
than you would have expected?
we are made of a different breed.
Do you have a lot more?
65.
Oh, no. Too
But
many.
also I've been buying domains for 10 years,
Yeah,
so,
that's fair.
or 15, I guess. I just did a prune. I killed some of my domains. Anyway,
Nice.
that was just a fun question.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so I guess to wrap up, since we were on the time question, it's like, how much time would you say it takes you to create one of these sponsored tutorial videos? If you think about onboarding and like script and the whole thing.
Yeah, it's impossible for me to even, like, guess, to be honest. I'll give you an idea. So
Mhm.
I'm working with Prismic on a video, and I had, like, an onboarding training session with them that was, like, an hour and a half. I've had 2 or 3 calls from a logistical perspective that were 30 minutes apiece. I did a stream with Alex Strost on my channel for, like, 2 hours the other day, and this is one of the most complicated demos that I've done in a long time. So I worked on the demo yesterday for 8 hours. Like, all of my day was working on the demo, and I'll work more on that today. It's building a clone of the Netlify homepage, or at least, like, part of it. And the
Yeah.
Netlify homepage is really, really nice. And, anyway, so that's been one of the ones that's been much more involved. Some of the videos are easy, and I think that's, uh, like, to the point where they take a few hours total, which is really
Mm.
nice, like maybe 4 altogether. And so I think it's important for people to know, like, your value is not necessarily based on how many hours you put in, but the value that you create to people. And people have to figure out, obviously, pricing for themselves, but it's not, if you some of the videos, if you break them down in a number of hours that I put into it, the amount per hour would be astronomical. But it's all the time that I put into growing a channel, growing an audience up until this point, that is the value that I'm able to provide people.
Cool. That's a good question. I definitely agree, but it's
Mhm.
always interesting to hear, time
Yep.
time-wise and energy-wise.
Yes. Um,
But
one
I guess you
question that
have
I
to
got,
leave.
sorry, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm like, I know I've cut you off, so I'm just trying to move fast, so I apologize. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, 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 I'm the one who always cuts people off, so I'm always happy when somebody cuts me off, so go ahead.
You're happy when people do that, I'm sure. I posted I don't even know, a post in YouTube and just told people I was doing the stream, asked if they had any question. Someone said,
Mm.
"What's the hardest thing about being a content creator full time?" The hardest thing is that you are responsible for everything: accounting, marketing, design, the back and forth, logistically, email, like all the things you're responsible for, and that's tough because it's like you have to learn, but also you have to divide your time between all the different things that you have to do. So that's easily the hardest thing for me. Um, Question in the
But that
chat: are you
Yeah.
still doing all the content yourself, or do you have a team? Do you research, editing, etc.? It is almost exclusively myself. The interesting thing now doing this full time is I feel like I have less money to invest into it, because before I was still making decent money, but I also had a salary on top of it where I could just throw whatever money into this that I wanted to. Now this is actually money that we use to live. So I have not invested much in paying other people, but a couple of things that I will be doing. is probably investing some in editing. The one thing I would probably invest the most in, if anyone is interested, is paying other people to do demos, because that's always the thing that takes the longest for a video, is just building the thing. Like, it would be worth it to pay someone $500 to $1,000 to have built the clone of Netlify for me and just give me the code so that I could then go and do the video. So that's one thing that I almost definitely will do more of this year, is paying other people to do demos for me so that I can just go and record the video.
That's an interesting angle.
hmm
I
And like give
also
them a shout out too, and like hopefully give them some promotion for doing that work. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and also, like, some people would love to do that work more than make the video.
hmm
People have
yep,
different skill sets and what they find interesting. I do say I have had some times in my life where I've had a VA, and I think that that is something that you could benefit a lot from, and it's one of those things that is not as expensive, so since you know how to edit and do a lot of those things that often come with, like, a high, hourly rate, getting a VA to do a lot of the coordination and, like, kind of planning out and scheduling
yeah,
and those kinds of things, and also to, especially the women in the audience, I realized that I thought about what would a man in the 50s use their kind of secretary for when I had a VA. So I got her to do things that would eat up my energy, like
hmm
ordering gifts online
yep,
for family members, and stuff like that. Because if you are full time on your own, then like even saving kind of energy on personal stuff will give you more energy for the
yep,
business stuff.
yep,
So I would like channel Don Draper from Mad Men. And I was like,
hmm
what did to kind of get ideas? And then I told other people, and they were like, what? Can you do that? I'm like, of course you
hmm
can. I'd rather edit a video or create content or like code than go and
then do
do
the
online
other
shopping.
stuff. Yep,
Yes. Yeah.
yep. I think
So that's a tip from me.
that's perfect, and that's probably something I will look at how to invest into. But the main thing is just making sure that I have consistency with income to be able to do that, to make sure things like at home and just like financial future and all those. Again, I'm in a good position, but just making sure
Mm,
that sort of stuff is taken care of, and then see how to start moving out from there.
yeah. Yes,
Um,
Esther, it's awesome. Cheers.
yeah,
And also, Focus Auto has a good idea for you.
the bounty board. Yeah. Oh, another thing I
Mhm.
thought about doing is a job board as well, and doing referrals. Somebody mentioned that someone else had done this, so people could post send jobs my way, and if someone gets hired that comes through my website to them or through my referral code, to get a
Mhm.
referral bonus or whatever they call it. That would be another
Yeah.
thing, because I would like to be
Yeah.
able to aggregate stuff to be able to send to people in Discord, etc. All right, this has been the most like speedy thing, so I apologize to you personally if I haven't seemed as attentive. It's just because I was trying to get as much out of it as we could.
I
um
I've had a great time, and I got to ask all of my questions,
Good.
which was, interesting, and I felt we're a little undecided what usually gets, talked about, or, like,
hmm
more detailed
yep.
than what usually gets talked about, so thank you for being open and being that transparent, which is not as common, but I think it's very important, especially, to get more diverse
hmm
people into these spaces. We need to kinda know the numbers and know what kind of value is placed on these things when done by you, so we can all negotiate.
yes.
Hard when we negotiate. But so thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks everyone for coming. Um, Queen Ray, I will talk to you online soon, I'm sure. Thanks for joining.
I
If you
usually
if
say, "See you around the interwebs."
yes, see you around the
So
interwebs.
that's it.
Anybody else has questions after the fact, feel free to reach out and send them my way. But see y'all later.
Bye.